Colt gets his first chance really in a couple years to play. Plays pretty well in relief, and then he's on a short week. We find out later he gets no real reps with the ones. They just do walkthroughs. That seemed kind of alarming to me. Can you kind of take us through that mindset? You played a long time in the league. You came in as a backup at different times. What's that mindset like? How important are those reps? Jay said this week he really hadn't had reps with the ones since I'm not even sure early in training camp did he have reps with the ones. How important are those kind of reps, and what's it like sort of coming off the bench mid-season like that?
Well, that's very tough. I give him a lot of credit. He looked pretty good out there throwing some accurate passes. Obviously, the timing is so important in the NFL, throwing the ball early, throwing it where it needs to be before guys are even making their cuts. I think he managed the game well. He moved well in the pocket. And I think that's why when you go to a practice, I'm not sure when you guys were at the Redskins practice last, and you see the backup quarterback taking all the reps in scout team, and if you just you lose so much. Like I'll never forget, and the guy that taught me this was Darryl Green. When I was a rookie and I was doing all the scout team stuff, and I was just throwing to the circle guy that the defensive coach just said, throw it here so we can pick it off. And I was doing that, and Darryl Green goes, why are you doing that, Gus? I said, that's what the coach was telling me to do. And he said, well, that doesn't make you any better, and it definitely doesn't make me any better because those guys aren't doing that on the team we're playing against. So go out every day like it's a game situation and practice as hard as you can and do what your reads tell you to do, because when you go in those situations, yeah, you got a card, but they're the same plays that you have on your offense. So I'm sure Colt takes it seriously. Have the guys run routes so that you can make those throws if you do get in the game. And it shows that he's been taking those things seriously in practice, because not only makes you better, it makes your defense better. Now, he can't do much about the defense tackling, but, right. What are you going to do?
Well, but talk about the timing issues. The fact that he didn't work with the ones, the fact that he's kind of a different quarterback. He throws more anticipatory, right before the guy maybe he's out of his break. Alex might wait a little second longer. And so there is a chemistry, right, that needs to be built up with your guys. How important is that?
That's pretty important. I think you build some of those relationships as you go through, because I'm sure that even though he didn't get reps in practice, he's still throwing those routes and warm-ups and all those things, and he's taking a lot of reps, because there's probably days that Alex was beat up and he wasn't getting all the reps. So they want to say that the backup doesn't get a lot of reps, but you get enough to be substantial in a game and understand the timing and how guys run routes, and you watch all the film that the first team guy runs and watches, and so when you got a guy saying, okay, he's going to run a crossing route, here's how he runs them, and he steps them here, and you kind of get a feel for it, and especially Colt's been in the league long enough that he understands how to kind of throw the ball into certain areas. If he was a rookie coming into that situation, I wouldn't foresee him playing as well. But the backups have a major role, and that's why every team needs to have a good one, because the Redskins are in a position to make the playoffs and do really well, and now everybody else has to step up around them and help them out.
And it's so hard to find quality backups. I mean, it's just the position's so difficult to play, as you know. It's just really hard to find those guys.
It really is. It really is. And it's hard to find those guys that can sustain all year and not take any reps. You guys see it all the time when you watch NFL games, and then the backup comes in and the team falters, and there's just throws that are missed and little things that happen. And when you have a team, like I look at Ryan Fitzpatrick down in Tampa, who's a good friend of mine. Yeah, he's had some good and bad things happen to him this year, but they had two quality QBs who could come in. Yeah, their defense isn't very good, and it hasn't helped them very much, and they've had to put up big numbers. But and that causes when you throw the ball that much, you're going to get interceptions and things. You can't sustain that. But when you have a couple good players at that position, you can afford to do some things, and guys are going to get hurt. It's still the NFL, even though the rules are what they are against quarterbacks. And you can't hit them this way. But I think those things have all laxed since the first couple of weeks of the season, because I see quarterbacks getting hit now back in the first week they would have called that.
Well, after the Clay Matthews, like those botched calls or on Clay Matthews, they backed off on some of the calls on the defensive line.
Well, and Clay Matthews even talked about it. He said, yeah, some of the hits I've given, I certainly would have been flagged in the first 2-3 weeks, and they're just backing off.
Gus, I wanted to ask you this as we're talking to Gus Frerotte, former Redskins QB. He played a lot of years in the NFL. What do you think was your sweet spot, like your prime, like the age? Because we talk about it. A guy like Drew Brees right now is thriving, and he's closing in on 40. There are guys. It seems to me that a quarterback can play later and later now than maybe 20 years ago.
Right, and if you look at it, when I was 38, obviously my body broke down a little bit where I had some knee injuries, and I broke my back that year when I was 38, my last year with the Vikings. But, if you can survive and play where you're not getting some major injuries, and, there's a little bit of luck involved in that, and then you're seeing guys playing longer and longer because of the way the ball comes out, and obviously the rules against the quarterbacks, and then nutrition is so big now. Back in the day, when I used to talk to Sonny Jurgensen about how they would smoke cigarettes and drink beer at halftime, when he was playing, it's a lot different now. Everything's about taking care of your body and being very healthy and doing it year round and not just during the season.